Abusana penso ama wache ama wo akwaba wo hwen Adom TV sanso tie nka sempa 94.7 FM. Me de do say ya anapa no wotwe aboyi. Na say na wotwe dwumadie na ye de ebrewo. This is Ghana's #1 political show. Ye de brew on an account platform. Me the chief Jerry Forsen. Na wotwe dwumadie hye so efi sabre akomse no ndu bebo no ye de brew wo television so na fe wo radio so nti join yen wo social media platforms ni nyina so na share na for agent to obrepem e begimre na afia kenkan e de amount nkoma da pro so na pay no eye nkoma ehuhia pa eye ya wade twami e na o man photo sound for honorable kanoforiata e kopie mu mrache bejafie e de aban ana o man media budget review e de ekotuja enu nchemu no afia twam projections a aban no e make niema aban no e de see nani so ene yewura afi mu busumi nsia atwam first half no nia watumi aduru ho ene nia wo hwe anim se afia ba bewura mu no eno so wo beye nsam no eye bebre especially in this COVID-19 times no aban ne se dan ena watumi aye nsam no bosha no eye bebre ye be hwe the various aspects and after interventions aban no de atuja for example the coronavirus alleviation and revitalization of enterprises support eye denia aban no chese 1.2 billion ano yede ba be share large businesses large enterprises mu no eno ne de ensure immediately to quote the finance minister and after 100 billion so eno between the years 2021 to 2023 sasika no modalities no ese kwasen ye do mo suko na fe ya hwe abia so national unemployment insurance scheme eno so ye betwetwe ho enkomo aban ne de atuja se insu a yenya ni free kania yenya ni free watchim for instance kania no to the end of the year insu no so bosomi miensa eda yenimu no eno so ye benya ni free eno so ye betwetwe ho enkomo minority raise the issue of a car aban yabo ana besia aban abo something around 255 billion ena aban yi abo eno ye bisa sasika no eda na aban no ede eyeye penifo transia ye betwetwe mo enkomo but honorable kanoforiata okopiem na shebedefie nia waka edifa niema waye ni free for instance unemployment issues in sema waka fa ho and afei the public debt and also so in sema waka fa ho yankohwe niemra.
Mr. Speaker, government will inject liquidity into a system to ease cash flow difficulties of businesses and protect workers by honoring obligations to contractors and suppliers in a timely manner. Building on recent good experience of sourcing from the pharmaceutical and textile and garment sectors, government will expand procurement from local producers for its goods and services. Mr. Speaker, we are mindful of the fact that some businesses may have to shed some labor in order to survive. In the unlikely event that this happens, government through the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations is collaborating with social partners, labor and employers to establish a national unemployment insurance scheme. The scheme will provide temporary income support to workers that are laid off and also provide them access to retraining to help them take advantage of employment opportunities in new fields. We remember also well how the previous government, after imposing the inconvenient and income-sapping doomsday on households and businesses for 5 years, and insensitively increased electricity prices first by 89%, then by 10%, then by 78% and 20%, and finally by 59% between 2010 and 2015 alone. It took courage, Mr. Speaker, and care for President Akufo-Addo to do what no other government have been able to do before, which is a net reduction of electricity tariffs by 11% since 2017. Such is the higher level of care today, that today, nearly 4 years in office, electricity prices for Ghanaians, households and businesses all included, remain cheaper in both nominal and real terms than what they were before 2017. Mr. Speaker, the reason is simple. It is because we put the concerns and aspirations of the ordinary Ghanaian first. That is also why we further reduce electricity prices by half and completely provide portable water for free for everybody since March this year. and we will extend it for another 3 months. To break it down, Mr. Speaker, it takes a caring government of the people, and with that, I mean a government of all the people, to offer cost-free water to all across the country, representing all domestic and commercial customers in Ghana for 3 months. Mr. Speaker, it takes a caring government to be for the people and for business, large and small, to choose to subsidize electricity consumption by 50% to 4 million households and nearly 700,000 businesses at a cost of $1 billion in 3 months, and we will extend the coverage for lifeline customers for another 3 months.
My major concern is that the original budget had said that you are going to borrow 18.8 billion. The revised budget is, you are saying that you're going to borrow 44 billion Ghana cedis. It means an addition of 12.1 billion Ghana cedis. In spite of that, if you were to look at the breakdown where the borrowings are going to come from, I'm particularly worried about the fact that the borrowings are actually coming from the domestic. From domestic, you are increasing domestic debt by 16.2 billion. In fact, the original budget has said the domestic borrowing will be 15.8. Now you are saying it's going to be 32.
Oh, no, is a concern about the accountability or the fact that the quantum of expenditure or the amount? Because if you look at globally, COVID-19 has, let's say, even the German chancellor is saying that has thrown questions about fiscal prudence and deficit to the back door.
Let me come in.
And then that's something that, looking at the challenge that we have right now, do you think that the question and the concerns about fiscal prudence and even deficit still stands when you have to spend to save the economy and save lives?
It does. It does. There are two concerns. One on the accountability bit, and I've said that 11.1 billion, we need some accountability. We need to have the accountability. That is one. Number two, countries that are observing fiscal prudence around times like this, and the fact that you raised, the other countries are saying fiscal prudence doesn't really matter. It does matter, and others are doing it. You see, it does matter, and others are doing it. I'll tell you how they are doing it. First of all, you have to reprioritize your budget. So you look at the existing budget that you drew, okay, and then see what you can cut and what you perfectly believe that you can cut, and things that you can do in a form of stimulus. So I want to look at the budget. First of all, look at what has changed from the original budget to the current budget. Clearly, from the expenditure side, I do not see the minister prioritizing anything, and that's a major worry. Everything stands the same, and you can look at from the expenditure side if you look at the money. Nothing is changing. From the capital expenditure side, you could and find a way and actually balance it from the other side, but I'm not seeing that. That's a major concern. And number two, his act is actually elevating the public debt. And public debt, you and I knows, it has some consequences. Major consequences on interest payment. To the extent that in future, from 2021, a huge chunk of our money will be used for the purposes of servicing debt, to the extent that you have very little to grow the economy. So what they are doing has a negative repercussion on the economy.
Well, Honorable Kanoforiata, Finance Minister, and some of the two, and Honorable Kesel, Ato Forcing of the NDC, and also so Eddie Adjunche Ebaye. Well, Anapai, joining me in the studio, Honorable Dr. Edu Owusu Sarkodie, or economist, or economic lecturer, University of Ghana, Legon. Dr. Transit, I assure him, Sir Honorable Ebenezer Oklete Telabi, Member of Parliament for Lower Manya Krobo. Beka Yensa Sanson Eshe, Honorable Yabuabian Samoa, Director of Communication of the NPP, a Member of Parliament for Adentan constituency. Also Suba Betrans and Afi, Yache and Komo. But Doc Atansi, many of the share and Komotrition on as a Doc Aquaba. I'm saying you can't miss account when I was Pampa so the night Taishia, no
Obia, my for Mr. and Mrs. Owusudia. Okay. Na my hwele na nabako enti memma abusiafo nyina hyede kafra
but Doc, my answers here free will take away from the media budget review and then after yako into detail. Doc,
as I said, ya fibia ya no emra hye finance minister Say omra mrashe bedwafie. Now any review. Budget no said the budget the following year's budget the year on November of the current year. Until we are mfimfina udru afi mfimfina. I was also aba na obekire yen. Ehe na yedru. Sika na open when ya say. Say na aka. Ehe na was spending sika no ko. Near you say very simple. Even as sitting mu kura no ohwa utu anamo bia. No what na sika kana wa say album compare you say ehe na me kwai. E dan me ka say me si the mercy awie. Ana say ni say nti ade a finance minister no ontimi mfa ne penka say omma emra hye ne so oba. Na afi bia se de esi ehunu no. Eya na omo revise figures no. Ebi wo ha e bi de bi kosoro de bi tum bi wo so ani atibi so. Na ebi wo so a ehu hia so ode supplementary eye ode can I say ye so ne so kakra na ode atudwa na MPs na approve na otimi akọ spend from the consolidated fund. Na afi we de no de eye stronko because me TV home me head is na revise figures no way afi de you no baby afa. Adom say because of ye nyina enim yare aba mu anti wi ase nyina yesikasem no ewo ne kotodwe kan say ewo form enti metie ne din otumi say ne kasa mu no openti picture bi pictures in different edin kan
doc enti no ma membrem kaka you are saying say when who revised figures bia in the media budget
omo ye me kasa me say normal practice ya na ehu say bia or the GDP figures no be inflation exchange rate bon sa afi bia say ya na ehu no media budget no na fiscal figures no afi we dey na ya strong because of the covid no na say wanye ne sa first na mentena say afi na mentena say din hwe ne paper no ye na mu say because of the uncertainty surrounding the virus say coronavirus no okay say March mu Bank of Ghana and Ministry of Finance can say your GDP no be tier free 6.8 ako 1.5 March and now worker say was say 0.9 ana ye binya which means say
it's possible we can even hit the negative anamwa
no negative there me ye mom pies ye bedru ho but I'm saying say virus no e ma ye nhunu ye kwan ye ewi ase nyina nya Ghana nkwan o e ma ye nhunu ye nim ye enti untimi revise figures no with sound that confidence with that amount of certainty. Me for example, the GDP figure, I can say 0.9. Me for first quarter figures, Ghana Statistical Service release here. Now yenya 4.9. 4.9% no. Now higher than the first quarter of 2016 of 3.1. Agric in your first quarter record of 2.8 2020. Me share 2016 no, na 0.4. Until me hear say now even with COVID no cry first quarter chain afibia na really COVID until me can say interview bia me grant bia me can say Ghana may do better than 1.5%. But finance minister buy can 0.9 say e dey na esi how na me share no people no mu bi na hu say it is because na o situate Ghana development within the context of the global economy and the African economy. Global economy no ebe grow negative until recession mu an e wo no African economy also grow negative and so recession mu an e wo no it which means say ye ntimi mfa ye ne nto nema bebre so as Ghanaians because we are within the global economy and we are within the African economy until now say projections no but me bomb pie say e benya more than the 0.9 but na metie other people nka say say contraction 0.9% enya contraction contraction a negative growth rate. Where slow growth. What if phrase? I said growth rate is like a speed of a car. Or drive it says speed in 6 kilometers per hour. What you speed in call 0.9 kilometers per hour. Still how ko wanim. Car in team konachi. Name kona speed down the
speed out there corner no
na swati. And the positive 0.9 is not contraction. If you are saying it's the contraction of the growth rate, then I understand. But it is not a contraction of GDP nyina. Difference no. So you ko chia and negative.
Dog so be say dem komo no eto fam. Na me na o wa chima chiase. Otimi tim komo no ase contraction ya wo kan. Asiane saying, to mine, 19 common was
say, okay, say, and fan say be who balu na ejo. Okay. And 0.9 no. You that's why you enjoy. But and from mana you come on a swati.
Okay.
Say negative dia na say balloon no ejo. Na no contraction.
Okay.
Nti manage say yenya hit negative. I'm say me share Ghana your growth rate na I think 1983 when you recorded negative okay 83 common maybe see I think apart from that year no mean I don't know say my obi beti makam I think say apart from that year yenya negative growth rate bi. Nti eyade a eye emaye nti yen hwe say ye benya positive no me dey nya positive one kra eye ebeboa oman na me yakọ anim. Nti or share global economy, no share Africa, no share Ghana there. And after was I call in some so. Uti any dinner, uti say, was share their amine be air. Ghana so COVID by a pandemic. Pandemic means affecting we are self and engine. And say US 4 years say, I revive our economy. O music asem no be we are saying, you'll be a sick asem perform. And say America 4 a young share, say the basic asem no be called a straw. Say Spain for a year, Italy for a year, Europe for a year. I mean, European Union for you know, be a cheska. I have friend a stimulus package. Our mode a shame say, Sika 7 be maswa. Ghana so many sure say, you better know how you high. Ama a Sika 7 no, akoso at the form, sir. Until Minister of Finance no, or change the normal trend of mid-year review no, to the stimulus package.
Okay.
And no matter what's the good crime, Emma said the real financial will be a yes at the bear. The sicker now a form because of COVID, you know. I'm sorry.
Okay, but Doc, minority fortress say Abai or Bobby Siando. In fact, they raised the issue of about 250 million, of course, minimum honorable because Abai Betro can be. The concerns are raising about Bessia Abai Abo. Ojen Hussein. No.
Okay. So obia can't busia bo ana budget deficit nipa no a legitimate concern.
Okay.
Ghana yin sikasem. Now also say 2016 aban by na about 122 billion cedis. And as I say apejam ko 255. It's about 133 near the account.
Okay.
Ghana ye wie hepic no. Yes, ye bo busia pa na President Kufuor 2006, 2001 ye call hepic. And I ended 2006. Time I read 2006 HIPIC relief no. Now Ghana Kenya 4.9 billion cedis. Today I'm say 5 billion cedis. As a ratio of GDP, now 26%. And now abana a bar after 2006 ni na omudi ehwamo. Ono mo bo obosia sa na PGM from 5 to now year can 255, which means that within 14 years you had the 250 billion Ghana cedis. Anaka ekano. And number one. Number two, sir Obika sir Bosia bo anase a year. Me name madam for be research. Me ma figures no. Ye see end of 2019. Into 2019 now your public debt in 218 billion cedis.
218.
Yeah, 218. Now ye nhwehwemu no. Ye hunu say budget deficit and contribution. Budget deficit, the difference between revenue and expenditure. The dimroso na rebi ha kan.
Yes.
Say afibia ye dibroso a na yakotua. Ye dibroso a na yakobabosia na de ahyem. And no contribute to 48.6% of the public debt. Which means say it is less than half. Enti o calculate it amounts to 105.9 billion cedis. Afi we bisa me say na e kan de aka no efiri hin na buy. The etosu mienu e exchange rate. You see the depreciation no. And no kwa bo Ghana ka from 2006 to 2019. A cano year 61 billion cedis. Rate in year 28.2%. The aka off budget. Off budget borrowing no a year say bia what kind of budget deficit na we ka say bia fiwe. Your revenue no year 10. Expenditure no year bia 15. Until deficit no year 5. But ye be bu nkunta be wie no. Na ya babosia no more than 5. Until imagine say be ya babosia no 7 2 na e borrow 5 no so no. And only off budget borrowing.
Okay.
Off budget borrowing no contribute to 23.2%. MI 50.6 billion cedis.
Okay.
And the exchange rate depreciation in Kwan, Abo Ghana ka from 2006 to 2018, 61 billion Ghana cedis. As I say, Yankobo Bushan free baby. You see the Nahon, the Natiako from Nunkwan, Abo Yasakano. And the member a Busia wana Ubusam. And say a share public debt ya. Nasa amount for Casse. O budget deficit no air costra. Na ema o kanon so akosra me kase enye no nkwa na wase yehwe because the budget deficit and contribution to the public debt no less than half
into then bi on say hwe kan
ana maka exchange rate
okay
any off budget borrowing
okay
because exchange rate off budget borrowing no kabuma more than half of the contribution to the public debt
okay
and only me first my second point and say the medical can say you really hipik na 5 billion ye kai ho ana abana eba akire nyina ya bobosia ne saa na ye de akona afi we covid period we aye time a was ye bobosia
covid time ye time as say ye bobosia
yes economic literature macroeconomic principle obi a wonim economic history bia begya tum say time I was say aban e bobosia spending Emma ne economy no epegya no brebi say
ebra ye woman
yes 1929 in the Great Depression. Great Depression is the worst form of recession. Say wo sika sem akofom GDP na akofom any depression in 1929 abana ho in fact macroeconomist Keynes actually no the book mu say adia man sikasem ewiase sikasem asidi na so when government spent
doku we are now the one wey say na fe
say 2008 global financial crisis President Obama or the package stimulus package by or spending anti economic history economic theory any economic even empirical evidence all suggest say a drew maybe na so sikasem wo forma woni sikakra ko bobosia no never grow your economy with the hope say enema ye ya obenye sika akotua example ni say wo yare a obi tufo say wo yare ko bobosia never koto aduro esa ho yare uwia na ho ya odin na akoye adwuma na wonya sika na de akotua abosia say o man sika sem yare enti obi a obeka say ada na ye aban ne bobosia bia na ne ho emwa it is true say public debt no e wosoro but public debt no was is one issue. Telling me say public debt no was is one issue. Telling me say abane bobosia to grow the economy is another issue. And I make say Nigeria public debt as a ratio of GDP about 28%. Ghana you really hipik no near public debt as a ratio of GDP no na 26%.
Okay.
Nti senka ya ni Ghana fo hwamo a mobosia bebre enwo ho ananka sabri na you can say your public debt as a ratio of GDP maybe 30% ya. Anka threshold is 60%. Anka you have a room of 30% to borrow more.
Okay.
Enti e cannot be so. But you can't also deny the fact that economic theory, economic history, economic school of thought is saying say wo yare ba and asa usika sem ekofoma bobosia grow your economy.
Okay.
And not there it is supported.
Me that say doc mesa about hobio honorable Ebenezer Oklete Telabi atnase sanso na honorable Yabo Abia Samwa and so atnase honorable Telabi akwaba ma mention same field so on the issue of public debt minority one of your major concerns mo issue no pa any the accountability ana kanu eda ho no ana bisa no aban ne bo no ena mo hu say enkoye honorable Telabi
thank you very much, Mechia. My constituency for. Let me just maybe out time kitby. And Madame for me, no, or more worry. Now, me fakwan we so congratulate you.
Fantastic.
Fatal Moro, and Mr. Na, also. Congratulations. The one who say there are two things.
Okay.
It is the borrowing and what you do with the the money.
And the accountability. No?
That's the point.
Okay.
And you can't borrowing. Now, who borrow? now consume no, wasting it will not grow the economy. It will not grow the economy. If you make money available in a system and it doesn't end up in any productive venture, it will create, inflation. That's another negative thing. Yes. And we are talking about borrowing and not making, the borrowing impact on the economy. Because the question is that you've borrowed so much, what do we have to show for it? What have we done with all the money that we borrowed? Is it in infrastructure? Free SHS. How much have we spent out of that on free SHS? So and the concerns now are very legitimate. And again, this is not the first time issues about borrowing has come up. Because one of the main issues that came up during the 2016 campaign period was the issue, the fact that NDC was borrowing, and was borrowing too much, and to the extent that was, one key ingredient, and now one of the key factors are the then opposition, and the people of Ghana, borrowing was no good. Unfortunately, the situation where the government found itself, and if indeed you are telling a million client, when you are in distress, and the only way, to make sure you come up and get some energy, to become productive is to, borrow. Then you look at what happened in 2016, for instance. Oil prices. We had problems with the oil prices. We had budget. We had budget estimates. We were expecting some revenue. Revenues from oil, what do you call it? Slashing for about 60%. We had problems with our wells, and therefore government, projections was taken off guard, and it wasn't anybody's making. Bruni said, force majeure. They said the high cost is here. We don't have control over it. But then we need to do something. And that was the reason why the then government decided to, look for other sources to support. They came to Parliament. Because our expenditures, we could not meet, revenue will not meet, revenue you're generating was not up to, what we were expecting. The then minister came to Parliament and, or realign, and some of the expenditures were reduced. And I can say you picked various items and then you slash some of them. Yes. You realign some of them. So they make an say. And today, if you are raising concern about, if you are raising concern about borrowing, it is not just, we are not just being mischievous, but the facts, as we progress, I'll tell you some of the reasons. Because yesterday, for instance, what the minister said. One thing that we have been demanding, they say, COVID, government had sourced a lot of funds. The IMF gave us money. We're getting it locally. People are donating. Yes. And one thing that the minority has been calling for is, for the fact that we must audit, we must account for the money because they're going to Fusika. So let us account for the money. We want to see what the monies are being used for. And now, Nnawotwe presentation, the only thing I saw, insofar as coming out with something to explain what, or to tell us what they have used, some of those ones was to tell us that they used 54 million in providing, food, yes, for, people in Accra and friends, Kumasi. That which is a little, raised a lot of doubts because we were here. How they were fed, what they were fed. Okay,
Honorable, on the issue of 54 million, we are now getting into.
Yes. And when we are raising concerns about borrowing, it is not just it's not that and they say Abia, you person are buying eco bubbles here. Don't make an say. But once upon a time we were told that borrowing was a crime. And therefore, say you raise the issue about borrowing now. We are a very responsible minority. We are not saying you cannot borrow. But what we are saying is that when you borrow and you go talk what it dear and grow economy, it will not grow the economy. And it, borrowing for, consume for consumption, is a problem. And we must borrow and invest it in the economy so that the economy can grow.
Okay, but
so that we can inure to the benefit of.
But are you saying, say,
Yeah.
clearly, near Sasikano, Abano Edia? Is that what you are saying?
The American say, what is wrong if we ask, say, Abano Sikana Ukoboro, come and tell us what you are using the money for? Is it wrong? So we are not wrong. And it, if the government is not forthcoming with any reasonable, explanation as to what are these kind of, then I mean, as I say, raise the eyebrows. So what is it that you are doing with that money?
Okay.
Because every now and then, you see, we have borrowed so much. Even before, you see, I was expecting, sir, Minister Bayer, who would have given us a picture before COVID. What was happening to the economy before COVID? And the impact of COVID, that was missing. He didn't talk about it. He didn't talk about,
One TBBS.
No. You see, there is one thing telling us, because of COVID, we are going to give you this. Because of COVID, we are going to give. But you see, you need to, tell us what I mean. What do you call it? What was happening to the economy before? What has happened now? You understand?
Yes.
The effect of COVID on the economy. What is happening? I mean, all those things are not were not made bare. So all that they came around to do, and that is the reason why we have some of us felt the presentation was seriously a manifesto that they came to launch in Parliament.
Oh,
seriously.
Budget presentation, say a manifesto.
A manifesto, because I mean, it did not follow any, partner. Bibia, Ebema, among for Abotoyam say na koso. Sikaya Jino, when this is how much we have spent.
And don't you think that it's because we are not in normal times?
You are not in normal times, accounting principles. No,
Mesamba, the minority, Honorable Telabi, say you are not forthcoming with explanations. Bisia Mabo.
Transparency.
Transparency.
You are not being transparent.
Yes. Bisia Mabo. Then, and I'm going to say, Honorable YB.
That's it. I mean, share or more share no pain. Jerry Abantio. One year easy. Could you tell Abby Mammy that you're in Namibia? Hey, Adenta constituency. And then you know, say registration. When him say cat and common and then I think almost phase 5. No, I see. I have a train qua, be a nyabotre. I be drew phase 5 will be who say a baby drew the so.
At the tail end of the show
now. Economics. Doc, me kaka motu me hu na ni wa ben papa. Me a lawyer. Yeah, me dada me hu say me economics so kakra. My economics kakra ko ani. Enle wa kire your debt figures no. Percentages na ko debt na ma debt na fu no. Ama me amani aji. Meniji aje ni say enra speech nkwa ewom finance minister echire mu say debt na kosoro no exchange rate fluctuations okay wa ma percentage and budget deficits okay and the management of the financial sector liabilities and energy debt ni na o de ka ho and kan ye den ehuri no na anopay me yemu ahime say exchange rate fluctuations alone accounting for over 60 billion of our debt. Now, if this is the case, we are in serious trouble. Exchange rate fluctuations alone. Let's say yes, and on the workers would be investment. And then yes, wakope sika no a wakope no a wo betua ka no ade chi a ade san na yede e hwan because of structural weaknesses in the economy. So now structural weaknesses in the economy no and me about busia bebre no in the first place. The busia itue e da honom na wonya ntua ya na ebo no sika na yede e hwan na wo sa aboka ahyem. Nti fa ne se o the off budget ne kura aka actual debt budget deficits debt no na che se ni mienu no impo enru ekosoro but the impact of fluctuations is nearly 1/3 of 100%. That is massive. Eho na wasi etuebo na yetenase na yehwese omai baby edru no. How do we do the structural changes no ebeboa ama bosia bono swate no? Ese bosia bono ko hwemu a dodo no a ye eniema a ye kra goods services consultancy eniema ye kra ye kwan a ye kokra ho nimde ye kra ho mfidie ye koye adwuma fufuro bi a factory ye kra ho nimde ho mfidie bibia ye bia ye kra na se bibia ye bia ye kra di ha eno no be wi achi no edwade yesu so ye kra o toothpicks nyina nso ye de ye kra na be wi achi ne be ba ne se wonye bibia wo ha de a ye do so no ye numu bai no ye numu ye de no ye be kra ne ma no dodo ye be kra ne ma dodo ye bie ya kwan mu ye infrastructure ye ntimi nye kwan na ye twe contractors ne equipment ne ade ba no se ye one district one factory na se ye ntimi ambie mu ama na nkwachiri ama abibifo amfa mebunu ama ye adwuma na ye be ba ne se bibia ye be kra bia no na epija ye ne ye den ekosoro anunti ene no yenka hu se ekosoro no na fluctuation bafom ade na bafom se obia epe dollar ni bi foreign currency akutua nika obia epe foreign currency ni bi akutua nika no sika bia sidi bia be ka chense ontua bia no mfanje dollar kakra na wo ho obetua it's a dollar sign
and my question is very simple say abraham wo minority opposition na munim sa ne ma we nyina ana mo ba ya na ma be me da se
me de me yam sim prof wa ben pa
doc
baby doc obey prof na say me vice chancellor like my prof immediately ebra you opposition o can sa penwa then you politicize the argument no say nkomo no what say nkomo no say me kire o say the yenso ye kan say responsible borrowing yanka say no borrowing
okay
the teller be can say yes borrowing yeah say it's politics. If you say okasa na che say opese wo fere say wo so bobosia sa no opese oka say wo kwa bobosia dia mo ka say me bobosia nti ni say mo bobosia it's too simple okay it's too simple yen trans ni yen hwe ekwan abefa so a bosia bo no o de bebo ahyehye baabi a enyini a ebeduru baabi no o mbo bosia biem efise na peja wan kasa wa ho odin a wodi ye niema bi anka wokɔbɔ bosia de abɛyɛ. Does that make sense? Asema make not yase. Nti ye bɔ bosia na ye de abɛyɛ kwan a ye be wie kwan no na wɔsi enya Ghana ni adaachi bi. Saa kwan adwuma no bi ba ye betimi di sika na ye den. Ama no ayɛ. Technology transfer, skills transfer, saa ne mani nyina wɔsɛ bem. Na sɛ da bia ye kɔbɔ bosia ma no ne abɛyɛ kwan de a Ghana kwan a ye nyanye yi. Ye be wie na bosia da hɔ ne ntimi nso a. What did I make?
Yeah.
Yantimi ambo bosia anye mfidi a ye de befiti ye niema ye be no abayre agu store na se da bia no ye kra bayre ya no wabroche na ye de ye tunu fom mfuturo nko a e ka no e be koso e wo se ye nhihye ya ye factories a ye be value addition e wo Ghana ha nti ye ne ya nka se membo bosia ya nka se membo bosia ya ka se bobosia o de hye economy no mu a ebetimi asan aye adwuma obetuaka na se ye nye ye bosia bo ekwan pa so a ye nye obi anso mane mbo ye bosia waho doc chemu o se bosia bo no se ekosoro no e na de wode ye ehia sɛ obo bosia na me che sɛ bosia bɔ no kra ansa na be kɔ soro no obi wɔ hɔ ko chiri kra pe bosia no bia yɛ ma no NDC for one baby no bosia kra mom
but honorable osha figures are doc mo boys say ya looks like mama pensu bosia mabo ye sha say free Kwame Nkrumah pensu kra de ba as e wo soro so chain ni na so that is where the concern is
finance minister akyerɛw said the way me no me pese efri ha me pusuo mo ma ben e wo finance
yes
no ma to mbo dwidwa economy
yes
no ma sem regime to regime
yes
ebria fluctuations ne ko say dodo say because ye pensi de beto ye na wo siesie no na so o se wa anka so o kan ni nyina ye buy no na ye ne IMF te o ne o se stabilize the economy no economic stability na ye wo ne o se restructure debt no e da hodada no ye ntimi ntua no eno nko na animu ho no ano ye ko bobo sia 10.2 billion bi e de be share debt restructuring mu o ti ase na say o bobo sia de asiesie bosia wa anya ni saa enye yi ntia na obusa me school sen dan sen na me si saa bosia no mu metime ka say me si school dan enso se man ko bo saa bosia no a me siesie bosia dada na da ho no a na ni tua aye den se ye tie ne se debt restructuring me wo bosia na otwe bia wo se me tua sididu me den na otwe ne mentimi nya adwuma nya mfaso sididu am de ka ko tua me bosia enti na akobbo bosia atua bosia dada na wo ho no ebi ntempa na bosia no so ate aba sidi nson so ate ase na sidi nson no so ma ye nhyehyeye se na wotwe bia metua sidi num mienu na da so no monkanto animu emame na afi me ye adwuma metu se me ho aha me kakra enti menya sidi nwotwe so enti me de enum no beka akotua ka no na me de miensa no ahye adwuma foforo mu a ebetimi apagya ma ho odin so me that restructuring saa na ba ye no ano na wose ye okay na odi kan etoso mienu energy sector na ehonso eka amene wo mu a aka banks no energy sector no just free banks no makra fango no ni ade ni tua ni ade na banks no were in danger of distress from the debt overhang from the energy sector tinna no so issue bonds na etua ni esiesie ehonso ansa na wo ba the almighty financial sector crisis nti me pacho enro kai economy na ebeto kan ho asem financial sector crisis ne ko esika ye bewie na akum no 21 billion Ghana cedis and esika dey
I'm so can say in the coming year 7 billion and ye dey shemu in the coming
13.6 billion ekum dada and no the bank restructuring no any other no and sana another 5 billion eno no yatamo a ede ama receivers na omudi tua depositors ka eno wo hwe nanim se another 3 or so billion 3.1 or 3.6 billion ebekom to stabilize the investment houses what you say nti 3 na beka ka ho be 21 enya mai but ye be spend it se be ya investment finance houses no so ye be stabilize you because president ashe boss on beso bi sika beshi nti that is 21 billion a car NC school die because of economic mismanagement, incompetent economic mismanagement.
Okay.
What you say?
Okay.
Nti o hwe debt profile nkwa ye beto ye no ni siesie road arrears niema na akoso ni siesie nkwa no a ebetimi akata sa sika na ye ka nyina so ansana exchange rate depreciation kura aba
honorable mesa aba ho doc honorable odaroma mesa aba ho doc what my yati ase say besiabo no akoye necessary evil but main issue and what I want to the person do adwen kire wo ho fiscal prudence but you say all over the world aban bia na mo awutu no besian de obebo but kwan ya obefa so e dis asika no be bia odisika no ebe hihye ama ho atimi ahan na enkoye ka eda ho a eba be me no the issue of fiscal prudence what do you say how do we go about it moving forward doc
okay matie enipa bi nkomo when they are talking about fiscal prudence so first of all I must say we should make sure that we keep our budget deficit close to zero. It will be a good thing in the long run because more or expenditure more than or revenue no. Now budget deficit no air cost. We share 2006 and the budget deficit is very low. 2011 so it was very low. These 2 years apart from these 2 years they are Kenya high. I think that is why MPP for the Fiscal Responsibility Act because then it is a step so over start to minimize the budget deficit. Yeah. And before that act, now me take my interview me castle. I didn't know yajiatun say a monster be if no budget deficit or said the beer a share budget. I didn't hear. Until me kind say act no moon say Ghana ye 2 anamon. I person you reduce your budget deficit no. Say you can 5%. We here 2018, 2019 now budget deficit now was less than 5, which is good. And your COVID year can be sure say maybe 4947 be. Say election year then you need that be also. And January 1. Many people think that fiscal prudence means 0 budget deficit. Okay, which is an ideal solution. But in this part of our world,
it's not realistic.
Is it realistic? The second one is that you borrow for investment. You borrow for areas. My examples of Great Depression 1929. Our crowd now 7 pareho. Obi to form near Chanica, near Sanko form, Katam and near Chiomoka. Now, the essence of it, who read the economic literature or say, in times of economic slowdown and in times of recession, time I was sick as I am Reno. I was say Okobobusia. Now the basic share be economy no be usika 7 sorry. Now what is key are the unemployed. Into moment for example, Yakobusia say the yakwan a. Yemfa ekwan no contract ema Ghana ni. Na yen check Ghana ni na contractor ne say onfa Ghana for omunni adwuma. No omunya kwan no. No ntwi omuka. So when you do that, inflation I think honorable raise is our concern no emma. Because so bobusiana the question productive venture na aggregate supply will go up. Or supply upe aduane a wanya bi, upe kwan a wanya bi, upe nsu a wanya bi, upe nkani a wanya bi. Wo yes ade na emma inflation emma ana be ma growth na wo pɛ no so akosoro. Into the fiscal prudence no eno nie. Okay. So we keep you budget deficit no small if it is possible, but over so bobusia no never koye hihye wo economy no fa koye kwan fa ye nsuo Ghana sisi yetimi se dum so sa ba ene coronavirus obi abeto atwene amafo betum ho agum monten so enti saba no bobusia se wo de hyenkaniam se de be ya obi abenya kania ya de papa. Okay. Wo de ye nsuo se de be ya obi pipe na nsuo aba ya de papa. Wo de ye kwan utwu car ya de papa. Wo de ye nyoma bi a ye nyina ho betoye na mum in the construction process no yemfa omu a omunni adwuma enti se ye bobusia na de share adwuma kan se ye de share economy ni mu a omu a wo se ye ni ko omu ho pa ye the unemployed. Okay. Omu a sabi o omunni adwuma ye na
doko hono unemployed no so both in the formal and the informal sector. Because obi ho no ma otontos COVID-19 ba yi ntos oton odwum no. Exactly. Adwuma no aye basa. Exactly. It is a ye share both the formal and the informal. Me
no ya adwene pa. You have formal and the informal sector. Yes. But be this kind of akoshe a be ma ye nyina ye ho ahare. The practice of many countries. If you ask for nyina, that is what obia eye. Ya kase oman we develop ya na omobobosia na omonhwe sabi biom se honorable kan sem bi se ye mismanage ye fans no ye bo a ye mfa nko ya de papa na ade ya pa ne se euro bond this year aban timi raise $3 billion euro bond anya aban we nko a am say ndisi for so mu ye bi na me ma typical example se okobobosia Eurobond, yes, we say 20 years, so they have 20 years, for example. We can 20 years. A coin so the quiet and a coin will not last 20 years. na okoya na obai se okobo bosia de ye kwan bosia na akobo ye no obetua principal no in 20 years time in 2020 ye bo a ebi a 2040 ni ebetua na aya a kwan from maybe Accra to Kumasi
na kwan 5 years 6 years na kwan na say
exactly ho no ni asem no ho pa ni asem no nti wo ye ne sa wo bobusia no amfa anhye wanye value for money no amfa anhye ba bia ebe last the lifespan no should be more than the lifespan of the maturity period of the loan. What did I make an answer?
Yes.
Ubabusia de kwaya ade a e wo sesa ade no so ba mfaso more than many years more than sikano time I was okutua principal. That is the theory behind borrowing. That is the theory behind borrowing. Nti so why nya ne sa na afei na enema bi eyi ne ho adi.
Nti doc se metwase ya bo besia 2016. Say de ye kwan. Na kwan no besia no ye betua no 10 years. Na if 2016 e be kwan na ye kobo besia ni tua no kwan na say ya
no a high
it's not
so a high so also sako bosia for ever fix it.
They be fix kwan no.
Nti na say what double bosia no. Also ko bosia for the be fix it. Na say what double bosia no. Say wo bosia no wan fa nye ade papa. Ubon se nyoma bi eda ne ho adi e economy nim one ubon se wabobosia pa so ubon se growth rate na esi ni trase o GDP growth rate figures don't lie figures don't lie Dr. Mamiaka was saying it will expose you fundamentals will expose I'm just saying and it's possible can the same to the fundamentals will expose you some things will expose you exchange rate no ubon se agye ne ho inflation na agene ho because obobosia no nti demand side no akosoro
yes.
Inflation is a general price in simple economics a demand and supply when you have demand over supply once a price in kosoro that's inflation
yes.
In the macro sense no nti obobosia na what demand nti demand kosoro afa kwan na de ye no wo he na supply na ekofom na inflation aba
okay
na wo hwe industrial sector so a ubobusia na bia de ye kwan wo de ye ya ubomu se line bi da se fe no construction ubomu se wabobusia de na so na construction subsector na e grow negative the figures will expose you and the industrial sector in general because me hu in Ghana here me hu bi aban bi se wabobusia pa wo de ye kwan wo de ye say and so na industrial sector na is growing negative.
Doc, for this home mesa about subio, you call the various interventions abino I announced in the media budget review. But answer no,
quick one. Sometimes when many of them come about banking sector, no, they attribute it to the previous government here, to the extent so I can say incompetence and whatever. But you see. The problem, and I'm happy, so machine say, the energy sector was a factor in creating the problems in the banking sector. Because we both see be. But you see, a responsible government like the NDC government at the time, what we did was that we realized the fact that there was a problem. It's affecting the banks. We need to save jobs in the banks. Right? So we created an energy sector levy. Now the first, quarter, it gave us 300 million. And then we knew, say, if they had managed it properly, we wouldn't have even gone to the bond market to go and raise, some of the monies you could raise it with, its repercussions are. If within 4 to 6 months we're able to raise 300, what it means is that in 1 year we'll be able to get about 1.something billion, which could take care of the energy sector, bills in the world. But the thing that the bastardized, the incompetent government brought into being, they came, to one, increase it and then extend the line because it had a sunset, period.
Yes.
Say, akopim way. this year. We've raised so much. We have taken care of the energy sector bills, you know. Banks are free. The producers are free. But then, he says the person who the government that brought that in is incompetent. But today, that is what what do you call it? A vehicle be a loan. Not for that purpose.
But Honorable YB has explained.
Yes. Maybe the say or say energy sector. I mean, they are still whining about normal Akoso before 3 years, 4 years more away. What I'm saying, the state, you know, the mechanism say you should tell us the state of the economy as it is before, as it was before COVID, right? And COVID. Send be a proper assessment.
Okay.
And I will say, and I will call about a litany of things that happened, you know, in 2015, 2016. And I make a and say, in 2015, 2016, the problem that we had, who say affected banks, we decided, we came to Parliament and we enacted, you know, a law, ID tax, so tax, you know, the purpose of it was to free the banking sector. And then, you know, so say, I decided somebody use Sikano for another thing. Now the banking sector, no, have a problem. It is their own creation. And our own problem.
I see.
Because we would have dealt, we had a plan to deal with it differently. And it protected jobs. Then thousands of jobs are used, you know. It protected because he's talking about the US. When they had their banking crisis near dinner, because people did wrong investment, they didn't collapse the banks. They did not collapse the banks. They were resuscitated. Okay. That was the tangent on which we were going.
Honorable Talami. Okay, to ask man.
And you know, the Americans say this government has been given 4 years. I can't know 4 months to go. Now, what about Uber review what we have done, where we have got into. Now, and then the other country say, may you say there. We are expecting you to by now be commissioning things. If indeed what you told us, no, say but we believe say the problems we have now, no, if indeed the economy was that resilient as they were touting it, no, we shouldn't have gone into the problem because the lockdown was just 3 weeks. Even my friends said were 2.5 weeks. And it was a partial lockdown. It was a partial lockdown. And we couldn't sustain it. And then they are telling us, maybe we'll get there.
Yes.
How much we spent within that period. Very opaque. Very, very opaque. You know, because questions have been raised, you can say, you're talking about feeding 400,000 people.
Yes.
Was he at a Crossport Stadium or where? Or in Accra here? Where did they take those? Where
when teacher no?
My brother, make your picture. But Kenke need fix, you know. Kenke need fix. FPC 54 million Ghana cedis.
And you can fish. Rice. Plain rice. Jollof rice.
Oh, Kenke need fix. FPC 54 million.
What kind of Kenke fish? And now Kenke fish in Kwana.
Oh no. I
mean,
and you see, even the economy is you know, on the scale. Saying you know, senior high schools. Your population was senior high schools. Let's go back and look at if you do them 3 times. How much are you feeding them per person? Because of the economies of scale. The prices come down. The cost of food, what do you call it? Food, you know, a form. Yeah. So they make gonna say, a individual, one person. So they say, and because even the figure that they are telling us, 400 no feed are doubtful.
Where are the doubts? Doubts
because 400,000 if even. 400,000 if even.
400,000
if even. This if even. Nipa 200,000. 400,000 if even. Accra, how many people did they feed? Agbogbosi.
Well, Honorable Tell Abia Bisa, Nipa 400,000 no. efiri hifa yɛntwa yɛ homra na honorable wide wa ha yi ɔnkyerɛ me be free yɛba